It's time for Kagurabachi Chapter 12, and y'all know the drill by now. Check out the playlist if you need to get caught up. So Chapter 12 is titled Preparations, and we pick up right where we left off, with the elite Kamunabi squad having showed up to Chihiro's hospital room and basically formed a plan to take out Sojo and rescue Char. So the chapter begins with Glasses saying, all right, we've got a plan. Basically, all we need to do now is just wait to hear where Sojo's at right now. And Ponytail says, yeah, it shouldn't take too long. And Narwhal says, that scumbag hasn't totally evaporated. And Feitan says, yeah, apparently he's still doing business. The five of them then take their leave with Glasses saying, we'll contact you when it's time to move. We then jump forward 2 days, and specifically we're told that it's 49 hours after Chihiro has woken up, and we see Shiba walking into his hospital room saying, hey, how's your pain? And Chihiro says, it hurts, but I can move. My left arm was already pretty bad. Shiba then remembers the last words Chihiro has said before he passed out after the fight with Sojo, saying that he will cut him down. And Shiba thinks it must be really frustrating, but he doesn't let his hatred get the better of him. He manages to think through what he can do now and what he should do, to choose the best option based on his principles. He then thinks back to when he was younger, along with Chihiro's father and a young Azumi, and he says, man, back when we were 18? He then kind of snaps out of it, looks at Chihiro and says, you're a prodigy. Chihiro just shoots him a questioning glance like, where did that come from? But the moment is interrupted by the phone ringing on the counter. We then cut to this shot of a fancy estate, and as you can see, it has some sustained damage at various points on the roof, and there are a lot of guards milling about. We then focus in on 4 guards who happen to be sitting around a table, and one of them gets up and excuses himself to go use the restroom. And the rest of them kind of joke around saying, hey, no need to come back. And one of them says, yeah, at this point, we really don't even need any more lookouts. And another one chimes in and says, yeah, nobody's going to come all the way out here. Then Blondie says, yeah, all we're doing is researching some little kid. How many sorcerer guards do we really need? And as he mentions the sorcerer guards, we get these 4 shots of individuals at various points around the estate. The table bodyguards conversation then continues, with one of them saying, meanwhile, Sojo goes around without a single bodyguard. And Blondie says, yeah, he went out on his own today. He's tough enough to go out on his own. And the other guy says, where'd he go? We then cut to an establishing shot of a bathhouse where we see 3 individuals walking in. We then see that inside, Sojo is by himself in a hot bath just thinking. And he's thinking about how Chihiro revealed that he is Kunishige's son. And he's like, wow, so that's his son. I never even heard of him having a kid. But none of the books say anything about his life after the war. The kid looks like a teenager, and he knows the power of the enchanted blades. That's not in any publications either. He even has an enchanted blade I didn't know about. Sojo thinks, I guess it's possible. I mean, there's plenty of supporting evidence, but, and he thinks back to when Chihiro said his purpose with the blades was to defeat evil and protect the weak, and Sojo just cringes all over again. Sojo gets snapped out of this by 3 people entering his bathhouse room, and he looks at him and goes, oh, it's just you. And this guy throws down a box and says, this was the product from the other day. And Sojo says, you came here just to bring it back? And this guy says, that was the agreement. Besides, you're the one who said the stone is traceable. I don't like being tracked. And Sojo says, did you crush the enemy group? And he says, yeah, piece of cake, thanks to your help. The problem was after that. Our sorcerer's body blew up. Sojo just rolls his eyes and is like, here we go. And we can see that in the box this guy threw down, there is presumably some Datsenseki. So that's what they're talking about. The boss man then continues and says, this wasn't part of the deal. That guy was the backbone of our operation. How are you going to compensate us? And Sojo says, that was part of the deal. I said you'd get to handle power on par with the enchanted blades and that it would blow you away. You're the ones that took the bait. And the boss man just snaps his fingers and says, fine, we didn't come here to listen to excuses. And these 2 dudes just dart immediately toward Sojo. It then just cuts to Sojo lounging in the hot bath exactly the same way as he was before, except now there is blood scattered everywhere. And he's just thinking to himself, so controlling the Datsenseki still isn't going well. In theory, we're doing everything perfectly, so what's missing? And then he thinks about how Chihiro says, you're the one that doesn't understand anything. We then cut to Sojo like getting out of the bath and literally blow drying his hair as he continues. He says, it's our lack of understanding of the enchanted blades. Then one of the employees at the hot spring kind of like walks into the room and he says, hey Granny, I hope you called the cops. He then continues thinking to himself, I need to fight him again. especially if he really is Kunishige's son. Next time, I really have to show him. For that to happen, I need to fully understand this blade. And we see the employee hand him his sword along with his other belongings. He gets dressed and then starts to step outside and says, "Ah, the perfect warm-up." We then get this cold as hell shot of Sojo staring up at the Kamunabi, and he continues to speak. "You're phantoms. The reason why Japanese people were barely a war of sorcerers before the Imperial War is because of the unwritten rule that sorcerers don't interfere with the outside world. But since their activities were exposed during the war, a lot of sorcerers have operated out in the open. The only reason this country hasn't fallen apart is because you guys control it." We then focus in on Glasses, who gets like an entire panel nameplate reveal. It says Commander Ikuto Hagiwara of the Anti-Cloud Gouger Special Forces, Kamunabi. He then says, "That was some monologue. Was all that just to tell us you're ready to fight now?" He then thinks to himself, he's so relaxed. Apparently he was waiting for us. Dude's so hard to read. Well, in any case, this will make it easier for Chihiro. It then cuts to Sojo, who says, "Yep, all warmed up." We then cut back to the table guards, who are starting to wonder why their friend still hasn't come back from using the bathroom. And they're like, "Yeah, what's taking him so long?" And the other guy says, "Well, maybe it's because you told him he didn't need to come back." And Blondie says, "Nobody would take that literally." And then this guy says, "Hey, what's that over there?" And he sees a little black goldfish kind of swimming in midair. Then as they turn to follow the path of the goldfish, they see Chihiro just straight up aura farming at the end of the hallway next to the body of their friend. And all three of them are startled, but then Blondie's phone begins to ring. We then zoom in on Blondie as he picks up the phone, and he is sweating right now. And he says, "It's me." And the voice on the other end of the line says, "How's it going over there?" And he says, "Why are you calling?" And the guy says, "I'm bored. There's nothing to do guarding this place way out in the sticks." And he kind of like fakes a laugh and says, "Yeah, let me call you right back." And the voice says, "Is something going on?" And he says, No, just a stomach ache. No problem." Blondie then hangs up the phone, and we zoom back out to see that Chihiro now sits across from him at the table, and he's taken out all of the other guards. And Blondie just says, "What do you want from me?" And that's where the chapter ends. And full disclosure, the guy on the other end of the phone definitely didn't sound like that, but the way they spelled some of his dialogue, it just possessed me to use that accent. All right, a few quick thoughts. Chihiro was straight aura farming at the end of this chapter. I love it. Sungjin, who? I mean, come on now. But also, Sojo was. That one panel of him looking up at the Kamunabi, that was gorgeous. But this has me worried because obviously, narratively, we're being set up for a rematch between Sojo and Chihiro, and yet here he is facing down the 5 Kamunabi, so I'm worried about Glasses and co here. We'll see what happens. Also, I'm wondering if Chihiro like snuck in the estate and just hasn't dealt with these guys, or if the implication is he already took all 4 of them out. I'm gonna assume he snuck by them because the way that they all got like a little panel introduction here makes me think they wouldn't have just been off-screened, but hopefully they were because Chihiro needs to catch a break, man. He needed a month to heal, and it's been 7 days since he passed out, so hopefully he doesn't run into Sojo or all 3 of these guys at once, but again, I guess we'll see. And then last but not least, because you guys continue to be ridiculous, a huge shout out to Blue Eyed King, Branwyn, Hellion, and Corey. Thank you guys so much for the support. And I know you guys are probably tired of me saying this, but for real, like the crazy support for the Kagurabachi stuff really has meant a lot for me. So thank you guys so much. And Corey, thank you so much for the congratulations on 71K. I hadn't even realized until I saw your comment. So appreciate you, man. And appreciate all you guys for helping us reach 71K on YouTube. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Until next time, stay greasy.